Hey, Harry, how's it going?
Good, how are you?
Good to see you again. You were you stopped by I think a couple weeks ago, right?
Yes, I did.
2 weeks ago. How is your projects? How are they going?
Good. No actual projects today, but I have a conciliatory prize. This was
okay.
This is how I spent my day. It's a referee badge and referee shirt from a robotics competition.
Oh, great. Which robotics competition were you part of?
First Lego League.
Oh, great.
So I was on my feet for 12 hours, which was fun, but it was a lot of work, but it was good seeing a lot of kids, and a lot of kids really excited about it. So.
Do you mind hanging out for a couple seconds? I have some questions about that.
Sure.
Okay. So
this is our big first.
Yeah.
You're first.
Apart from Robot Girl.
Yeah, I'm friends with Dean Kamen, so I've kind of watched First get really big, and I really like it. This year, they allowed Kinects in. Was that part of this, or was this just Lego stuff?
No, this was just Legos. The Kinects are part of there's a continuum. So you start with Junior First Lego League, and then you go to, which is like very young kids, and then you go to First Lego League, which is 9 to 14-year-olds, which is just Legos. And then you go to one of two, depending on how much budget you have. You either go to First Tech Challenge, which is, about microwave-sized robots that's also not the Kinect, but they're also based on the NXT, the Lego brick. Yeah. Or you go to the FRC, which is refrigerator-sized robots, and that's where they're using the Kinect this year.
Okay.
Are they using your drivers? Are they using Microsoft's drivers?
You know, so this is interesting, right? It's a good question. From what I understand, they're using Microsoft's free SDK. But here's the weird thing. As of
wait, that means they're having to use Windows computers in there?
I don't know if this is the weird thing. So there's the educational use of the SDK is changing because as of last week, Microsoft has a Kinect for commercial use that is $100 more, and you have to use their free SDK, and it's only for Windows. So
I know, but how are you going to have a robot with a non-real-time operating system?
These are all excellent questions.
And
it's a very
FRC,
slow robot.
Yeah, the FRCE, I believe most of the control unit, I'm not active in the FRC. I just there was a team there and I saw it and I'm kind of know a bit about it. I believe it runs off the National Instruments, the C-RIO from National Instruments, which is, I believe, an FPGA. So maybe they've somehow ported the code to an FPGA, or...
you know what? It's probably the open drivers and just no one's talking about it because it's probably a little embarrassing. That's just my guess.
Probably.
So I did...
It's like it's so different than what I would have thought. I would think that they would go with something like a gumsticks board or something, but it sounds like there's a computer and an FPGA, and it's hundreds of dollars.
I think it's super cool because this is one of the reasons we did this, and I want to ask you some Lego questions in a minute. One of the reasons we did this Kinect thing over a year ago now was because we knew that this was going to make robotics competitions possible, cheaper, easier, than just
you can actually say, find the red ball, and that's actually possible now.
Yeah, in the past, what they'd always done was above all the scoring elements, they put, really bright infrared LEDs.
Which sucks.
Which is a horrible, which is really, unless the filters are kind of expensive, and it's difficult to filter it out from whatever ambient light there is.
And then somebody snaps their camera, and all the robots spaz out.
Yeah,
and they don't work anymore.
You start playing Hunt the Flash camera, and
yeah. So the next question I had was, tell me about the Lego, because there's going to be folks that watch this recording and they're watching it live. Tell me about the specific Lego types and the actual packs that people are competing with in the Lego competition. Is it just the Lego robot, or is it a super version of First?
Yeah, so it's the bog standard FL, or it's the NXT brick. It's the one you can go out to the store and buy. There's an educational version of the software which has more lessons in it, and it has access to some of the legacy sensors, like the old-time RCX sensors.
Yeah.
But apart from that, it's just about the same. I competed a long time ago, and we used a different software package, and so it's changed since then. But it's mostly a lot of the same. It's the same structural elements, the plastic, snap together structural elements. It's not the snap together that maybe some older people might remember that's just bricks snapping together. It's actually pins, and you can do all sorts of bracing, so you're not just pressing things together, and you're in fact forced to by the system. But it is pretty much standard Legos, and you're in fact forbidden from using anything else. No metal, no machine shops, none of that.
Yeah. And what type of, what are the events for instance, that the kids go through with the Lego competition?
So right, so it depends. The amount of events and the type of events depends on your area. I'm from a small state, and so there had been fewer teams in the past. There are getting to be a lot more now. So in the past, when it's 40 teams, less than that, it's one single state event, and so which is geographical and team number. Now we're probably going to have to start maybe transitioning that to qualifiers. In a lot of states, particularly big states, there are a lot of qualifiers that you go to first, and that all feeds its way through. But and then depending on who runs your event and how nice they are, maybe they'll run scrimmages to, you can, for the actual competition day, you can go in and, practice running your robot under more stress and, get some chance to see what other teams are doing.
Oh, very cool. And so you said that you're from a small state, but things are getting bigger. What's changed? Why are there so many people involved now? What's
so the biggest thing is a lot of I guess we call non-traditional educators are getting involved. So
is that homeschooling? Yeah.
That was homeschooling and like after school groups, Boys and Girls Clubs. There was a Girl Scouts team there today. I believe there was a Boy Scouts team there today. 4-H was there. There was a 4-H group there today.
Awesome.
I dragged I was homeschooled and I dragged my parents into it because I went to an event when I was about 7 and I was like, I want a team, I want to go on a team, I want to be on a team, I want to be on a team. And foolishly, my mother said, if there's not a team around that you can be on by the time you're old enough, we'll start a team. And there wasn't, and she did. And so that's how we got started, and she's worked her way up through the ranks.
Very cool. And I have, you don't have to answer if you don't want to, but in general, do you think the homeschool kids beat the high school, the traditional high school education, middle school kids more often, or which one do you think?
Sometimes, but it might not be for the reasons you might think.
Yeah.
The main reason that, I would say that the answer to that question is yes. Most of the teams that have won recently were private schools. It was a lot of homeschoolers. The reason is that homeschoolers can stick around for a while, whereas the school system wants to run it as a class that 8th graders take or a class that 6th graders take, not as something that the kids can track through. And if you only get a year every time, you don't really get to sensor use. You have the motors have built-in rotation sensors, and you do entirely dead reckoning, everything. Luckily, it's not time anymore. God. But it's just time-based, and whereas when I competed, I was homeschooled. I was on a team for 4 years. By the end of it, we were writing our own motor control algorithms and like memory optimization and all that sort of stuff. And you just get a lot more experience when you've been around for a while.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to move on to the next person, but one thing I wanted to offer up, if you ever want to write on Adafruit as kind of an embedded reporter at first,
I shall preface this by saying I was just a referee. I'm not really. I don't officially represent First in any way.
No. That's
why you're undergrad.
Yeah, that's the cool thing. Like my day as a referee at First would be.
All right, and I have some contacts, and I'll get in touch.
We'll call you Deep Robot.
Excellent. Okay. All right. Well, we'll talk to you later. Thanks for popping in and we'll see you probably in a few weeks again.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Okay. All right, Chris.
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, welcome back to the chat. I know you have some exciting things to show on RiderNet, and also for the folks joining in, so this is a big system that Chris will explain in a second, but you recently saved a horse using RiderNet, is that true?
Yeah, we actually used a wireless camera. It was actually just right after the Adafruit cameras came out, and so we're going to get some of those into it, but a horse got sick with colic, and that's one of the leading deaths of horses around, is when their stomach gets all compacted. And when that happens, you've got to typically walk them around in a big circle and stay up with them all night long until they either get better and using lots of medicine. And once Chili got to a state where he was like that, we would have been up all night long in 20-degree weather, trying to keep him alive, and instead we were able to use the Wi-Fi camera and watch him inside his stall the entire night from our bedroom. So that was really nice. It was the first practical application of the RiderNet where it actually did something for the farm, and it was a little early because I've gotten all the motor shields and everything to have rotating cameras and whatnot, but that was going to be later in the spring.
Very cool.
So yeah, that was a lot of fun. It was unexpected. But I've finally finished I haven't. I'll probably never be finished with the documentation for XNP because I love it, but I'm releasing it today, tonight. The URL is sojournstudio.org /XNP, and I put it all up on GitHub. I'm not sure. Do you want me to try to show this with the camera? Do you think that'll?
Yeah, go for it.
That'll work.
Yeah.
All right, let me see if it'll work.
Yeah, do the best you can.
Oops. Okay, let me.
Yeah, and
back
you know
up
what?
a little bit.
Because everybody is in perpetual beta, let's actually. I'm going to try a screen share with another thing here. So let's see how that
Okay.
goes. What's the URL again?
It's SOJOURN Sojourn. This is all one word, and then studio, sojournstudio.org, and then / like XNP.
Let's see. Let's push the boundaries of Google Hangout once again.
/XNP.
Yeah.
XM or XN?
XNP is a network protocol.
Huh. File not found. That's weird.
Let's see. SOJOURN Sojourn STUDIO. No S. Just sojournstudio.org. Not Sojourn Studios.
.org.
Yeah, .org.
.org.
Sorry.
Okay, I'm going to try to do a screen share and see what happens.
Okay.
All right. Because my camera just is not going to do the justice.
Yeah. Okay, so this is what I look like.
That looks a lot better.
Hey, look at this.
I have XNP.
Okay, tell me what you want me to click.
Well, if you can just mouse over the XP Network Protocol at
Yeah.
the top there,
Okay.
you'll see that it's got menus below, right there below the logo. There's a little message there with some thanks and whatnot. But if you scroll back up to the top, right underneath the XMP graphic, you'll see XP Network Protocol.
Yeah.
That's a mouse over.
Yep.
There, and now you can pull up, there's all the documentation for XMP is there. If you click on like full mesh networking, that will show you, I basically have created a full documentation with a whole bunch of diagrams that describe how the protocol works, how you can configure it, and you don't have to read all this. It's just for those who want to. You can use the sketch directly, but under the installation instructions, there's the packet structure, and it will show you how the packets were designed, what they look like,
This is
why they're
intense,
designed
Chris.
the way they are.
Yeah, this is intense. You did a lot of documentation, man.
Well, go look under installation instructions and try like any of those, required hardware or software, any of those. This is where I did a lot of work, where it actually walks you through exactly how to build an XMP router if you didn't know hacking at all. The links of where you would need to go to buy this stuff. That's a recommendation page. But
This is great.
But there's, I think, over 70 diagrams so far. Every one of these is actually a Visio diagram that I pulled into WordPress because I don't do a lot of web stuff, so I'm kind of new to it. But the one part I like is if you under Network Protocol again. Let's see.
Yeah.
If I have the
Overview.
under required software, go to required.
Got it.
Installation instructions and required software at the top. This is why I'm going to try to go for my badge. Right, we start with Lady Ada, but then I've created my first GitHub repository, and I've loaded XMP up there. So that's the second website. That's an active repository now, and it's got the source in there. And there's a massive amount of documentation inside the sketch. But you can download that, and I'm sure there's lots of better ways I could have done this.
You know what's funny? You did better documentation than most companies do. Who
This is better than like Digi's documentation.
Yeah, this is better than the Digi stuff. Although we have many friends at Digi, so we should also say they also make great stuff.
But they just don't talk about the low level protocol stuff.
The documentation that you did is great. This is awesome, fantastic stuff, Chris.
So there's a lot there's a lot more documentation that's coming. I couldn't finish it all. But under the installation instructions, all those categories are done so that you can find out, oops, those are some broken graphics. I'll fix that in a bit. But this will be evolving. I've been working on this for a month, and I just had to release it because it was taking too long.
Yeah.
One of the things I did with XMP under example functions is I created functions for you to start with, or for anyone to start with, so you can, basically very simple functions where you can send packets, receive packets, and acknowledge packets.
Yeah.
And figure out, and play with it. But yeah, under XMP install instructions, that's where the real meat of it is. And there's there's 3 different networking modes. So it's 7.
Yeah, write up some of the things that you really like. And just send an email, and we'll post it up on Adafruit right away. And you're still going to be writing an article with Make down the road. Is that still in play, in progress?
It's in progress right now, yeah. Now that this is done, as this is part of Writing Internet, I'm going to finish that up, and they wanted that done by February, like early February, or no, mid-February, they said. So yeah, I'll be done by then with the whole thing.
Excellent. Okay, Chris, we got one more person who just joined. Thank you so much for keeping us posted with this. This is fantastic, and I like how you're not scared to just dive into stuff, and you did everything you've touched has been fantastic. So right on, man.
Thank you very much, guys. I appreciate all your help and inspiration. So I'll see you next week.
And you're very close to getting a badge. Okay. All right, Tim. You got about 8 minutes or so. What do you got? What do you want to show us?
He's got boxes.
Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
All right. So back in October, I showed the ray gun.
Yep.
Yeah.
You see it? My parents have fruit trees in their backyard, and we have lights on them so that they don't freeze, and they're on a timer, and it's not very efficient. So I set up with a propeller and with the waterproof digital temperature sensor from you guys, and the power switch tail, a device that basically just reads the temperature, compares it to a set value, and when it's below that value, it turns it on. So I don't know if you guys can see. Probably can't see that. So I have a glass of ice and water here.
Yeah.
And the temperature sensor. So the light's on now because it was in the ice. If I heat it up, it should. There we go.
Oh, there you go.
You know what's interesting is this is so useful because when there's a freeze and you have plants that if they get frozen, they're ruined, like especially like orange trees or like a lemon tree or something like that. And I don't know if there's an easy off-the-shelf system that just works. I don't think so.
I have no idea if there is.
I don't think there is.
Yeah.
I've heard that in orchards, like professional growers, will spray water and freeze like an ice around the fruit for some reason. That kind of will protect it somehow. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's what I've heard. So and I also used Sugru to join together a Cat 3 cable.
Yeah.
We soldered it and then just covered it to waterproof it a little bit. So
nice.
Very cool. And so
it's like heat shrink that you can put on afterwards.
Yeah. So you use the propeller, it gets a temperature, and then it flips the power switch tail if it's cold, and then you turn on the lights, it heats up, and plants don't freeze.
Right. And I did it in one night, and one thing I came up with just to test it is I have a fan on my desk up here. So when it was over a certain temperature, I'd have it turn the fan on. So
that's handy for humans.
Useful in the summer.
Good for fruits and humans.
Very cool. Well, if you do any write-up or anything, let us know because we'd love to post about this, of course.
Yeah, this is a useful project. A lot of people want to do stuff like this.
I mean, I know a propeller is a little overkill for it, but it's just easy. So.
Hey, but it's easy to put in whatever you want. Some people want to use an Arduino. Some people want to use a MSP430.
Yeah. I like that it doesn't matter. Like, what's kind of cool is whatever dev board you have, it's getting to the point where it's like, well, it doesn't matter if you have a propeller or an ARM board or an Arduino. You can get temperature reading in. You can control a relay, a power switch tail, which is very safe. Before power switch tail, there really wasn't anything that was okay. Like, this was probably super easy to do. Like most of all the
no wiring, no.
Yeah, you just like plug in the little thing and you're set.
I did this in a couple hours. It was really simple.
Yeah. I like that people could see a problem, glue stuff together with their development tools that they have, and within a night they could do it, and then like a week later show up on some video show
Yeah.
and talk about it.
Yeah, no,
Nice.
it's interesting because this is kind of what the Fab book from
Yeah.
Fisherfeld was about. It was about like people solving like life problems by being inventors,
Yeah,
and it's like happening.
yeah,
I bet we don't need Fab Labs. People are just doing it at home.
yeah,
Just
yeah.
really-
We just need source code downloadable things
Yeah.
and fast shipping from companies like Adafruit.
Turns out GitHub is actually what people need.
Yeah.
Awesome.
All right. Well, thank you, Harry. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Tim.
Hey, if you want to see if you want to see my favorite funny picture, switch over to the screen one last time, or your web browser.
Okay.
Okay.
Or actually, I can show you later. But there's a really funny slide in the XMP full installation. You guys can just look at it if you want. But under installation,
Yeah.
installation, the XMP full installation.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is there a
The fourth
pony?
one down. Click on that.
Okay.
No, but scroll down. You'll see it and you'll laugh. This is how I fried 3 of my XPs.
No.
Oh, this is nice. Look, you don't want this badge. You want this badge.
Oh, that's so sad. Poor XBs.
It's like hot or not for XPs. Very cool.
That's
Right.
right. All right. Have a great night, guys.
Okie dokie. All right, I get it. There we go. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for show and tell. We'll see everyone next week, and thanks for everyone tuning in. Looks like Google Hangout Live is working out
Super
great.
smooth.
Everyone's able to see it live. It gets recorded automatically, so we
Yeah.
think, and we'll see. Thank you,
Wow.
everybody.
That was great tonight.
Yeah.
All right, bye.
Okay. Take care.
I'll be back in like 5 minutes.
Yeah. See you on Ask an Engineer.